This is the before of our model Lorne. We will be using the combination of techniques and shapes to create the end result. Multiple techniques create the look, incorporating the flat layer and the concave layering technique in addition to the line technique. To shift the weight, the round and the triangular shape will be used for our end result. Lorne has coarse hair with a thick density. We want to maintain a strong line in the end result, along with soft layers that are minimal to keep the hair easy to maintain. Integrations is a method of judging the shape of the head and weight placement. The foundation of this technique is to section the hair into these three major sections before cutting. As you see, the bald mannequin is separated into three major sections. These represent the sectioning pattern. The blue area is representative of the top of the occipital bone, which is the yellow area, to the low point. The low point is the flat plane below the crown. It is located in the area of the lowest growth swirl. Section the hair in a horseshoe. The red area encompasses the area above the blue. The yellow area is comprised of everything below the blue, which starts at the top of the occipital bone. This is Lorne's hair resection for the Shape 6 technique. You can see my initial front to back section. At the low point of the head, there is a horizontal section that ends at the top of the blue area. The horizontal section stops at the top of the yellow area. Looking at it from a profile, you can see the horizontal section continues to the front and is consistent on both sides. It's imperative to have clean sections before you begin this technique. I will start by establishing the line technique in the yellow area. The blue and yellow area will be incorporated into the line. Using the length guide at the top of the yellow area, I will create a flat layer in the blue area. Using the longest length will enable me to maintain the length and line I have created. I will use a vertical section to layer for minimal buildup of weight. The shape will be round until I reach the mastoid process. At that point, I will create a stationary guide to over-direct sections back to behind the ear to maintain length in the front. The end result of over-directing will be a triangular shape. The red area will be sectioned into two parts separated by the crown to the back of the ear on both sides. We will create a convex layer, which is a round shape, in the back, and a concave layer, which is a triangular shape, in the front. We will start by doing the line technique. Because of the length of the hair, to establish a guide, I am smoothing the hair against the cape to cut the line and control the section. I'm taking my hand and placing it on the smoothed hair, and starting from the center, I'm going to cut from the center out all the way across. I'm creating a horizontal line. So I started with the center left, now I'm going to the center right. Notice how I don't recomb the hair, just keep the hair in the same position and move across the line and keep the hand in place. That's our initial line. We will continue this technique into the blue and red area. We want all of the hair to be incorporated into this initially before we start our layering technique. I'm continuing into the blue area, working from center left to right side. The hair from the sides are over-directed back to maintain length in the front. Cutting the hair against the cape will give me a strong end result. That's my completed line. Now I bring down the red area and make sure it blends with the line in the same manner. That's my completed line. This next section, we're going to create a flat layer by starting in the center back above the ear in the blue area, taking the section out with the small teeth of the comb like a pendulum, pulling the two things out together flat to the wall. I'm going to make sure that my section is initially smooth. So I'm re-smoothing the hair until I get it nice and even. And at that point, we'll cut our initial guide for the flat layer. Now I'm moving from the center, combing toward the left to create my next section to continue the guide. And I'll continue that to the round of the head. At the round of the head, which we're at right now, that'll be my stationary guide. I'll cut that, and then I'm going to over direct the hair with the wide teeth of the comb back to that opening and closing my hand and cutting to leave the length in the front. Now, starting from the center back, I'm working toward the right side, my initial section, and the next section I'm going to comb toward the right ear. So pulling the section out, I'm combing from the left side toward the right. I'm pulling the section out and cutting, and then checking horizontally to make sure it blends. As I reach the round of the head on the right side, I'm at that point right now, I'm pulling the hair out, and now I'm going to over direct the hair from the right side with the wide teeth of the comb back to the stationary guide behind the ear, opening and closing my fingers, keeping it in the same position and cutting it, maintaining the length in the front. The next step is to blend the flat layer into the red area. I've sectioned the hair behind the ear, and this divides the front from the back of the head. I will continue my guide into the red area. I'm making sure to stay completely flat 90 degrees to the wall. You can see my flat layer. I'm going to continue to take pivotal sections from that center section to each side to the round of the head. So now I'm pivoting from the center toward the right, bringing my hair out flat to the walls, small teeth of the comb, and combing toward the right side as I go. So pivoting the next section and pulling that out flat, continuing the same guide. Now I'm to the round of the head. I'm holding the stationary guide in my hand, and I'm bringing the other hair back to the stationary guide. So that maintains more length towards the front. Now I've completed the right side. We'll go back to the center, take another vertical section, and now I'm combing toward the left side, continuing my guide, working toward the left ear. Still pivoting my sections from the initial. Now that I'm to the stationary guide, I'm going to over direct the last two sections back to that. Still using the small teeth of the comb to control the hair. And there I'll be pulling those last two sections back and into that stationary guide. That completes the left side. Now I'm going from flat to rounded 90 degrees. Taking my initial section, the length guide from the red area in the crown, I'm going to pull that out 90 degrees from the head, straight out. My fingers and my comb parallel, pulling that out with the small teeth of the comb, creating a new guide, working that last length and moving across the section, and that's my initial guide for the crown area. You can see the line and the shape. Now we'll take pivotal sections from the center. I'm standing on the left side, working the left side of the crown, combing toward myself. The guide is coming toward me, pulling the hair out with the small teeth of the comb and continuing the guide toward the left. I'm pivoting again from the center out, and notice my body position. I'm standing in the center of each section, parallel to it. So now you can see the direction the hair is being pulled and the direction of my body. I'm going to continue to take pivotal sections until I run out of hair on the left side. Now, starting in the center, I'm going to move toward the right side. There's my initial center section. I'm staying on the right side now, taking pivotal sections, combing toward myself. The guide is coming into the section and pivoting around till I reach the back of the ear once again on the right side, just as I did on the left. So I'm combing toward myself, small teeth of the comb, the guide is coming toward me, and I'm facing the center of the back. That completes the right side. Now I'm checking it horizontally, and everything is even, so we'll move to our next technique. To create the guide for the top, I stand in front of my model, creating a section in the center, making sure I'm in the center of her face, about a 3/4 inch wide section. And now I'll stand off to the side, pulling it straight up. And I'll find the guide from the crown, angling my fingers to create length towards the front. We'll cut that as my initial guide, and then we'll continue that to the front. So it gets gradually longer as it moves forward. I should complete this in 2 sections, and this is my guideline for the top of the hair. To divide my next section, I'm going to stand in front and comb from the crown forward, separating the hair, walking to the left side, and combing the section toward myself. The guide is coming toward me, and I'm pulling the hair straight up, finding the initial guide, angling my fingers, lining that up, and blending the guide into the next section. Continuing that forward, pulling it straight up, continuing that line from the back forward. I'm standing in front of her once again, combing from the back to the front, and continuing to take these sections until I reach the side of the head. Now that I've reached the side of the head, it will become a stationary guide, and I comb away from myself now, pulling the hair up toward the guide on top. You can see how I'm running out of hair as I get to the side of the head. And we'll take up one more section, and I should be running out of hair to cut. So that'll be my last section on her left side. You can see how it maintained the weight at the bottom. Now I'm standing on the right side, pulling the hair toward myself. The guide is coming toward me, and I'm continuing the guide into the right side, from the back forward, still angling my fingers to create shorter in the crown and longer in front. I'll continue this technique throughout the right side, taking my section straight up till I reach the side of the head where it'll become a stationary guide. There's my stationary guide, and now I'm going to comb the rest of the hair away from me to the stationary guide. And that'll be my last section on the right side. And that will be the completion of Shape 6 technique.